Let's talk about one of the worldwide issues that's probably going to have a major impact on cleaning and the cleaning industry in the near future. Let's talk about water. 97.5% of the world's water is salt water, and only 2.5% of the water in the world is fresh water. 70% of the fresh water is in the polar ice caps. So that leaves about 30% of water that's in the soil or in underground aquifers. Less than 1% is really accessible through rivers, lakes, or reservoirs. All these statistics come from the World Health Organization. 80% of the global fresh water is used for agriculture by the United Nations reports. Let's look at potable water. Potable water is defined as drinkable or being able to be used in preparation of food. Non-potable water is obviously undrinkable water, but it has two categories. One is gray water, which is what you get after you've used things in your sink or in a dishwasher or the clothes washer, but it is contaminated, but it's called gray because it doesn't contain fecal matter, which is what black water is. And black water can't be reused for anything at all. So remember those definitions. Add to it now the population of the world. The U.S. growth right now has been about 1% a year. With the current population of over 322 million, that's 3.2 million people added to the population every year. The world population is at 3.7 billion people, and it's growing at a rate of 1.5%, which is 110 million people per year. And that's from the U.S. Census Bureau. When you factor in all those people who are going to need to have clean water, potable water to drink, now you have to look at another factor, and that is through the drought monitor, as of 10/13/2015, 38 states in the United States or more suffering from various levels of drought, from abnormally dry to exceptional drought, as in what we're experiencing on the West Coast, and California is the greatest. Texas is just coming out of a major drought, and they have not fully recovered. The cost of water is going up. Whenever you have a major drought and you have to conserve water, they also raise the price to encourage people to use less water. Priorities have to take place. So what are we going to use all this fresh water for? Well, we said before, 80% of the water is used in agriculture. That's raising crops and raising animal livestock. California, most people don't realize it, is the #1 agriculture producer in the United States. And a lot of that is dairy. They are the largest dairy producer. Texas is second largest agriculture producer, and most of their agriculture is cattle. The average cow uses 20 to 25 gallons of water a day. And a dairy cow will use 40 to 50 gallons a day because they have to absorb more moisture because they're producing milk. They also have to wash the udders before they can put the milking machine on it. So it makes sure it's safe for people to drink and there's no contamination. Now, when you think about a cow using 20 to 50 gallons a day, that's a lot of water, and you figure, well, hey, that's interesting. But another fact is the average family of 4 uses 400 gallons of water a day, and 50 gallons is used by people working in office buildings in a day of work. 27% of all that water is used in flushing toilets, which is the black water that we talked about before. Add to that the American Society of Civil Engineers graded the United States infrastructure about 2 years ago, and the United States graded out as drinking water a D-. Inland waterways, a D-. Wastewater, a D-, because our wastewater sewer systems, a lot of them are connected to our rainwater overrun, so the sewage systems run together, and so any fresh rainwater you get down is the storm drain is also mixing with that sewer water, which is black water. And it doesn't help when you have a situation like in California where they're having all the forest fires, because then when they do get rain, there's no vegetation on the ground to hold back that water and let it soak into those aquifers and all the soil. So it just runs off and goes into the rivers and runs out to the sea once again. They experienced that recently in South Carolina. More buildings are also turning to waterless urinals and compostable toilets. The cleaning industry needs to be aware of this, because what we're going to look at is how do we clean toilets? Will we be forced to use less potable water for cleaning? Will we have to use dry chemicals for things like carpet? Will we have to turn to more innovative things such as microfiber that uses less water and more technology? Also, with gray water, maybe we'll be forced, instead of using potable water together, we may have to use gray water to flush toilets. So you'll have to have a different system. Chemicals you use to clean the toilets are going to be different. Chemicals that you clean the sinks are going to be different. And we're also going to have to possibly filter the gray water to actually use to clean carpets and floors. This is an important thing we have to consider in the cleaning industry. How are we going to address all these issues? How are we going to clean floors? How are we going to clean carpets and other surfaces if we're forced to use something less than potable water? So what we're going to have to start looking at is developing systems on our own that can filter water, that we can maybe use gray water for some of the things we normally use for, or help the industry by developing processes for cleaning that don't require large amounts of water or large amount of chemicals that have to be filtered out or could contaminate the water that goes forward. We're living in an area now and that we're going to have to be more concerned about the water around us and how we use it to take care of our buildings.
To view more quick clips, visit ISSA.com.